Robert Martinez.
Man, how are you?
Doing well. Glad to have you on the first episode of Houston Multifamily TV. Didn't be able to get you this quick, so I'm kind of grateful and humbled at the same time.
Dude, I'm all about helping other people out. I'm all about branding. I think it's really important in 2020. So I'm excited. I'm stoked that you could have had anybody. You could have had Grant Cardone. You could have had Gary Vaynerchuk. You could have had anybody. You had me on your first episode.
Well, I see a guy who's doing the branding and doing real estate, kind of what I want to do both, and you're kind of living at large in Houston, and so I appreciate you coming on.
Absolutely. Thanks so much.
Yeah, so I mean, this is the back to school series. I'm ready to go back to school, and you're going to be the professor for today's subject. Are you cool with that?
I'm ready, man. I'm ready to share.
Awesome. So we're going to talk about the do's and don'ts of property management, and we have seen so far, just in the past 3 months, how much it has changed in our economy and multifamily within itself. But just before we get into that, I would love to know just few minutes of your overnight 10-year success. How did you become in this position where you are today?
First of all, if you want to get anywhere in life, you're going to need help and you're going to need to educate yourself. And I think so often in life, we have tunnel vision. We go down a path that our mom and our dad sent us down. And it's because we don't have exposure. It's because we don't know what else is out there in the rest of the world. I'm from Deep South Texas, literally 20 minutes from the border. And education was everything. The idea of moving to San Antonio, Houston, wherever wasn't really there. We didn't get that kind of exposure. It wasn't until I went to Texas A&M and I got exposed to another world. I got exposed to getting out of the little fishbowl that I grew up in, and I got to see a lot of other cultures, a lot of other individuals, but everybody was still coming with the same idea. I'm going to go to school, I'm going to get good grades, and I'm going to work in the workforce for the next 40 years and hopefully retire at 65 and hopefully I have enough money that I can live on a budget. And that's the path I followed, like a lot of guys. And so for the first 10 years of my life, I was in corporate America. I sold industrial equipment to the oil and gas industry, and I got really good at it. But what happens to every good sales guy, just like what happens to every good sales guy is that if you get too good, your bosses start to monkey with your commission plan. And you think you're going to make here because that's where your projections are, right? Because you're an engineer, you make projections, but your boss has you live in here. And you're like, but no, I want to make here. Yeah, but you can't make there. And they do that subtly by changing up your territory, by giving away your best customers to somebody else, to changing the commission plan. And after that happened 2 to 3 times to me, I realized it was an epiphany. I realized that I didn't have control of my future life and I needed to get that control back. So I went out on a venture to try to figure out what else is out there. I first thought, because I was scared, that I'm just going to supplement my income. I found a real estate program that had been on Houston for a long time. I used to listen to it when I was in my car traveling to different sales calls. I said, you know what? I'm going to go try this out. I'm going to get in this club and I'm going to see what it's all about. And it was the most amazing thing because I found mentorship and I found a network. I found a network of people who are doing exactly what I wanted to do. I was very fortunate. I skipped single family house rentals completely and I jumped straight into multifamily. And I was in 2007. And between 2007 and 2011, I grew a company with a business partner at the time. And I should have known you should never really be in a partnership. The only thing with 2 heads is a monster, right? And that can't happen, right? So I left that group, but I left with all my experience and all my best practices with me. I started Rockstar Capital in 2011. Today, we have won 17 city, state, National Apartment Association awards, including the most recent National Property of the Year. Almost all of my portfolio is top rated by apartmentratings.com. 15 of the 21 are in the top 100 in the country for resident satisfaction on the apartmentratings.com service scoring system. 5 of the properties are in the top 1% for overall resident satisfaction in the entire country. That's out of 113,000 communities scored. We're really good at what we do. We return a lot of money to our investors. We've done 12 cash out refinance events. And in fact, this week, I'm working on number 13 and I can't wait. We're actually going to refinance this deal. We're going to pull a boatload of cash out. Our debt service is actually going to go down by $13,000 a month. which in the course of a year is almost like having another quarter's worth of cash flow, another quarter's worth of distribution. So I'm really excited. Additionally, I'm a two-time city Houston owner of the year, and I'm the country's only two-time national independent owner of the year.
Yeah, I mean, that's not a short resume to be spoken about. And so I think for you to be able to give the distributions like you've been doing for these past 10 years, I think not only finding the deal, you want to continue to grow, but managing the deal has also been an obstacle for many people, especially first-time investors. So when you were starting off and you were thinking about, managing your own properties or versus going third party, what were some of the quick pros and cons you came across and early stumble blocks?
I never, ever considered going third party. In fact, I think right now you shouldn't do third party because you are working on millions of dollars of asset value. And more importantly, you have control of your business partner's money. People have gone and you've syndicated funds together from mom and dad. You syndicated funds from the guy down the road, the dentist, the teacher, the police officer, and they're counting on you to return a profit for them. But if you go third party, you're relying on that third party to do it for your investors. You sold your investors a dream. You sold them a promise, a business plan. And now you're hoping a third party is going to come in and make that business plan for you. I love COVID-19. It is the most amazing thing that ever happened to my company, but also for me personally, because I am a operator first before I'm a syndicator. I'm a practitioner. I spend my time trying to get better, trying to get to the next edge. And there's a lot of guys out there that have been relying on the harbor being full, and those are the guys that I call the peacetime generals. But if you weren't here in 2008, 2009, 2010, you have not seen what it could look like. You have not gone through a downturn, especially if you were involved before 08, when you actually had some assets up here, and here comes 2008, 2009, straight down. What do you do then? What do you do when everything hits the fan at the same time? That's what separates those guys from today.
Yeah, I think I was still too young to realize what was happening in 2008. So 2020 is my first quote-unquote downturn, and we don't know what the impacts are going to be exactly. But what have you had to adjust your system and processes in place as a operator of your portfolio?
As I said, I'd like to stay in front of the competition. I'd like to challenge myself. I go out and I continue to seek mentorship. I went out and I got a chance to visit with Gary Vaynerchuk in 2016 and again in 2019. And he left me with a question. He said, find a way to put yourself out of business. And I'm thinking, what the hell are you talking about? He said, look for a way to put yourself out of business, then come up with a defense against it. And that made a lot of sense to me. And I sat there and I struggled. I'm like, what? I don't want to go out of business. I've got to figure this out. And there were two things that I realized: visibility, and if people cannot come to your leasing office. So we've been focusing on branding. We've been focusing on who we are as a company. It's my job to tell my company's story. It's my job to promote, or I'm demoting all of our accomplishments. It's my job to be on this podcast with you and push the Rockstar way. The second way is I got to make sure that my residents, my future customers can make it into the office, or they can still get the functionality of the office. So 3 years ago, we invested significantly in virtual tours. And it was a trial by fire, a lot of trial and error, a lot of money spent, a lot of resources spent to figure it out. When COVID-19 hit, we had virtual reality, virtual tours for 24 months. And we actually saw our leases increase during COVID-19. When everybody else is struggling, everybody else is like, nobody wants to come, we were still leasing because we made the commitment 36 months ago that we need to find a way to put ourselves out of business. And if the residents or the future prospects don't come to the office, how are you going to lease apartments? We made it easy for them. They went online. They can do the entire leasing process from touring the property, putting their application fee in, doing the employment verification, rental verification. They don't even have to come to the office. And in fact, in our South Texas property, South Texas portfolio, we have smart locks and we have other technology that we've got there. So they don't even have to come to the office whatsoever. They get the code, they get the app on their phone, they can unlock the door, and they're ready to go.
So you've obviously, when Gary told you that, you're in the multifamily industry at the moment, people are like, what are you talking about? It's kind of a waste of time. But now you realize who's laughing now type of what you've seen has come into fruition. What other technologies are going to be very important in managing the property? Thus, so when tenants have the option to renew their lease, they're always coming back to you.
Yeah, well, and that I'm glad you mentioned that. I just want to say that's the difference between a wartime general and a peacetime general. A guy that's lived it, a guy that's experienced almost going out of business, a guy that figures that, you know what, I don't like that kind of pain. I'm going to devise a defense against it. And that's why we're here today. As for technology, I think that if it's on the phone, it needs to be part of your everyday leasing. Virtual tours are on the phone, so we're able to keep our doors open. Alexas, we have Alexas in some of our properties where you can actually say, hey, Alexa, pay my rent. Hey, Alexa, open up a work order. Anything that saves time saves money. And so it's really important that you keep up with trends where society is going. Uber put the taxi business out of order, right? They're gone. The taxi business is decimated, right? Uber's there. Amazon put Sears and everybody else out of business. Netflix put Blockbuster out of business. Why? Because it turned into an app on the phone. It turned into making it easy, making it quick. People don't want to come to the office. People don't want to use their key. You know, if you go to your car, you don't use the key, you use your little remote. That's the same thing that people want to do for their apartments. They're going to get used to putting in a little app. The same way you can start your car without ever being inside the car is what people want to do at their homes. And that's what
did you implement this in phases? Or how should an investor who has done none of this thus far, begin to even think about this? Because it can be overwhelming for an investor who hasn't even played in this field yet.
I think there's two things. Number one, the apartment industry as a whole is behind. They're always behind. So if you commit to it, it's an opportunity to get ahead of everybody else. Number two, if you're not willing to do the research yourself, then you deserve to go out of business. It's as simple as that. If this is where it's going, this is where it's going to be. And do you want to be Blockbuster or do you want to be Netflix?
Yeah.
Simple as that. If that doesn't get you out of bed, if that doesn't make you want to go to Google and research the crap out of this, then you don't deserve to be in the business. And someone like me or someone else that made those commitments is going to do it to you. Again, find a way to put yourself out of business, then come up with a defense against it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking about myself just in the brokerage business. When is blockchain going to take over my job? And I'm constantly thinking about that, and it does get me scared. If I'm not out there with a brand, just how you said with your leasing and technology, who's going to find me when you ask Alexa for a broker? Are they going to come to me? And that gets me scared too. So I'm not as far as where you are, but I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah. Well, it's already here, right, Zach? Because if you go to Amazon and you say if you say Alexa, order me some toothpaste, you're going to get toothpaste at your house. Whose toothpaste are you going to get? That's the key. Is it Crest? Yeah. Is it Colgate? Is it Rembrandt? Who is it, right? And so it's a brand. You got to get your out there. You got to stuff out there. I think in what you're doing, if we want to have a talk on that, I think I don't know any specific broker because no one's pushing their brand. I can go to their Instagram, right? I'm Instagram friends with all of them. 500 friends, 1,000 friends. Nobody out there is trying to push themselves. There's one or two, and they got 10, 11,000 followers, right? But go out there. Just push yourself out there. Tell your story, and just be natural.
Yeah. No, that makes a great point. And so, I mean, I think we've touched on the branding. We touched on how you're using technology for this new era. What are going to be some of the common challenges during COVID as we go into elections in managing the property? Does stimulus money going to affect your tenant base? Who gets elected going to affect how you manage the property? What are common things that our tenants are coming to you with about, hey, Robert, this is top priority when we live at your property?
Yeah, it's interesting you asked me that question because really you're the mayor of your little town. I've got 3,800 units that I'm responsible for. And within those units, I've got 2, 3, 4 people living in there. So I probably have the better part of 10,000 people that I'm responsible for. So I do act, I'm the mayor. And in that mayor, I've got to control the narrative. I got to make sure that I remain calm. I got to make sure that I educate myself on what's occurring. I disseminate that information because as you know, there's a lot of garbage out there. There's a lot of fake news. There's a lot of, you just got to figure out what's really there. I don't want my residents getting their information from their mom, from who got it from the neighbor, who got it from Aunt Sally. right? I want to get it from something in writing from a government website and tell them these are the parameters of the stimulus. This is what's happening for you. And so you've got to disseminate through the information, and then you need to pass it to your investors at home and also your resident base for sure. But you've got to manage through COVID, right? Because a lot of people don't have a job. Many of them are at home. And the fact that they are at home, means they're collecting money. And as you know, I'm not the first person to tell you this, a lot of people are being paid to stay home, right? Yeah. And now they're realizing, wow, there's eviction moratoriums. Wow, I don't have to pay rent. Wow, you can't do anything against me. And most people don't think about tomorrow. They're thinking about today. So thinking, wow, I'm sitting at home right now. I'm making $52,000 a year to stay home and not collect the check, and to not go to work. But that's going to be over someday. The sooner that they pull the pacifier out of the baby's mouth, the sooner people will go back to work, and the sooner this economy will bounce back.
So let's say the money runs out and they're forced to downsize, maybe not live at your property. Twofold, how are you going to handle the eviction process? And if they were to leave, how are you marketing in 2020 and onward?
Good questions. So number one, are your residents have money? I'm convinced of it. We're seeing an increase in delinquency, but we're also increasing our communications, getting them on the phone, making deals, making discounts. When the eviction time comes, there's going to be a monster backlog at the office, at the JP office, right? And you got to figure out a way, what are you going to do to get your evictions through and or to deal with the process? Even if you get your eviction through, you're looking at closer to October to December before you have resolution on this. Do you really want to wait that long? Do you really want to go through the hassle of the eviction, having them continue to use the lights and the water and all that and not pay? Or would you rather work out a deal with those residents? 80% of something is better than 100% of zero. So there's different levels on what I'm trying to say here, but figure out a way to eliminate your delinquency issue and move on down the road.
So are you working with them on payment plans moving forward?
We're doing all the above. We're working on payment plans. We're working on discounting rent. I might even forgive the rent, depending on who it is, how far in delinquency they are, and what my demand is. Because I can tell you what, we're screening hard right now because I don't want anybody coming in that can't pay rent. And I don't want them skipping from somewhere else to come to me. I might rather get rid of that delinquency that I know they can't catch up, because it's just like the snowball effect. It starts out this small and it gets this big, and there's no way coming back to it. You know, I would rather get rid of that problem and replace it with a more quality resident, but I don't want to wait till December to do it.
So how do you select the right tenant? What kind of screening protocols are you going through?
Well, I think and that's the key to property management, right? You have the credit criteria in front of you. You have the screening criteria. Are you willing to follow it? All the reason why you hear horror stories from single family renters or landlords is because they get so desperate to rent it out to somebody that they don't follow basic screening. I want to know where you work. I want to know how long you've been there. I want to know where you're last coming from. Oh, this is your first apartment? Yeah, and you're 39 years old? I doubt that. Where have you been living for the last 20 years? If it doesn't smell right, don't let them into your apartment. Stick hard to your screening.
Yeah, so this is where discipline comes into play, not only in fitness, but property management.
Absolutely. I mean, and you've got to lead by example. You've got to I'm constantly communicating with my staff. I'm letting them know that I'm watching the numbers and I'm expecting things to go a certain way, but I'm also giving them advice on how to handle it. I've also taken this time. COVID-19 was the best thing to happen to us because it took my focus off of acquisitions and it put all of my focus on operations completely. And within that, I found cracks within our management team. I found cracks within our business. And in that time, if you don't correct those cracks, they're going to get bigger. So we spent the time correcting the cracks. I recruited someone to run our operations. This gentleman ran 23,000 units for another company in town, second largest management company in Houston. He's now running my portfolio with me, and I've got less than 4,000 because I realized that I need to pay for experience. I need to pay for someone that's been where I want to go. Right. We've also made other corrections. We're overspending on marketing. We're overspending on a lot of things. We have cut those in. We've used this time to really operate the way we should be. So, you know, we've taken advantage of this crisis by making sure that we've isolated all the issues that could affect us in the future.
So would you say marketing is not a priority in your budget right now? and what is a priority in your management budget?
That's a great question. Yeah, your marketing budget today does not match your marketing budget in January. It just doesn't. There's different love. There's, because the pool has shrunk.
Yeah.
And you got to pull back. And you also have to really isolate, where are they coming from? Are they coming from your Google ads? Are they coming from your Facebook ads? Are they coming from apartments.com? What do you need? Right? You get excited and you throw money, but you don't really pay attention on the follow-up. Right? And not just that, leads are expensive. Leads are like $9 a lead.
Yeah.
It's very important that when they come through the door, you try your hardest to close it, but that you also follow up if they don't lease that moment. And so we're trying to make sure that we take the most benefit out of every single lead.
So let's say you acquire a property, it's 80% occupied. What is Robert doing to bring it up to his quota, 95, 98% occupied? What are the 3 tactics that you're going to do that's worked for yourself?
Right. Well, number one is I don't just buy anything under the sun. I'm very careful on what I buy. We've done through $1 billion of underwriting in the last 12 months. So I want to make sure that I buy the right deal. I like deals that have high visibility. I like deals that are in the suburbs. I like deals that are near schools. If they hit those criteria, okay, let's move on to the next level. Now I do a comparable market analysis, a CMA. I want to know where everybody else is in rent. I want to know why they're higher in rent. I don't want to necessarily buy the deal that's got the highest rent. I want to buy the deal that's somewhere in the middle or even on the lower end. And I want to analyze why they're there. Then I also want to understand, why do people move out? 2 reasons why people move out: management or issues related to management. And the issues related to management are maintenance issues. And what's the number one maintenance headache? Air conditions. So if I'm going to buy a deal, I always budget to replace 100% of the air conditions, because my belief is that if it's 100 degrees outside, and we're in Houston, Texas, it gets to 95 to 100 regularly.
I know.
You don't want it 82 to 84 in your apartment when you come home.
Yeah.
You don't. You want it nice and cool at 72 or lower if you like it like that. People move out because something in their apartment doesn't work right. It is a hassle to move, right?
Yeah.
So we work on pressure in the water. We make sure our boilers have consistent hot water, have consistent pressure. We make sure there's cold air coming out of the vents. And the next thing we're focusing on is the internet, making sure that Wi-Fi is a focus for us, making sure that the connectivity is good. Some of my sites, it's not very good. And if you're going to get tired of it and you're going to move. So it's to my benefit to go and try to find ways to improve the connectivity.
Yes, I mean, I would assume you're saving money on turnover cost instead of them moving out. If they have an issue, how, from a first-time investor or an investor of your caliber, how should the workflow be so that it gets remediated quickly? Because as you said, it's taking too long maybe to get fixed, or it doesn't get fixed.
Well, let me tell you this, and this is the golden rule to making money in apartments, in multifamily. You make money when people renew, not when they move in. When people move in, you got carpet, you got paint, you've got whatever upgrades you have vacancy laws, you have marketing costs, you have a slew of expenses related to getting somebody back into that apartment. If they renew, they actually pay more to stay there the next 12 months. So you should be doing everything you can to keep them to renew. I'm going to replace the air condition. I'm going to make sure that is not a reason to move out. I'm going to make sure that the make ready is the best make ready that we can possibly do, so they don't have a bad first impression. And then I'm going to make sure that the team understands who they are and that they pay our bills, they pay our invoices, they pay our salaries, and you treat them with respect. You stand up when they walk through the door and you greet them with a smile. And you put yourself in their shoes. You try to understand, why are they upset? People get upset when you tell them something and it doesn't happen. So communicate with them what it is that you're going to give them, and then deliver. Simple as that.
Yeah. And so let's say, for an example, I want to buy my first property. So you're saying I should already be in the business of self-managing it off the bat?
I think that if you can, you should. I think number one thing you should do is get mentorship and education and learn what it is you're walking into. And that means you're going to pay for it. Yeah. That means you're going to pay $10,000. You're going to pay $15,000. You're going to pay $20,000. But that is a drop in the bucket in terms of the net worth and the wealth that you can make from your NOI increasing at your property and your portfolio growing. You
So
want
I
to get
should,
a strong foundation of education and mentorship up front. What were you going to say?
no, so I should start building a team, or start thinking ahead if it's my first property or second one or third one. Is that kind of what you did?
Absolutely. You want to find mentorship, and you want to tell you what you should be doing. You want to know who they're using for their attorney. You want to know the names of the different brokerages, because you're not going to buy the first deal that comes across your plate.
Right.
You're going to need to have 5 to 10 good apartment broker contacts, and they're going to be funneling deals to you. But you also have to remember that you are one of 100 people that they know, if not 1,000 people that they know, and they all want the same thing you do. So you got to network. You got to shake hands and kiss babies. You need to go to investor meetups. You need to go to attend any webinar, any seminar that you can, even if it means that you travel, because this is a lifelong career decision you're about to do. And if you do it right, you will have real estate riches beyond your imagination. But you have to do it right. So you have to get good mentorship up front where they show you what doors to go through and what doors not to go through. And then when you're ready, depending on what the bank says, you might be able to manage it yourself based on your relevant business experience. I mean, maybe you're retiring from running another company and the bank says, hey, I think you have relevant business experience, and they'll let you run it. If they don't, then you do hire a third party initially, but at least you know what's expected.
Right.
You don't want the third party educating you. You want to be telling the third party what you've told your investors you're going to do. Here's the business plan. Now execute. And I'm gonna follow up on you. And I have parameters and metrics that I need you to maintain.
Right. And as you expand your portfolio, what's keeping you up at night in managing this? Because you're putting a lot of trust into your employees, because it's impossible for you to do everything.
Yeah, what keeps me up at night are the things that I cannot control within the 4 walls of my business. Mm-hmm. Simple as that. I can't control government. I can't control elections. I can't control COVID. But how I react to it, I can't control. How my team reacts to it, I can't control. How we deal with it internally, I can't control. Again, COVID-19 was the best thing ever happened to us because it exposed the weaknesses in my business and allowed us an opportunity to correct it the last 3 months. We've improved communication channels. We've improved the experience within the company, the technical ability within the company, the production within the company. We are better in our processes as a company. Events like COVID-19 make you huddle up and figure out a better way to move forward. Love it. I love COVID-19 now. Do I want to go through it all the time? No. Yeah. But these kind of events can make you better. They strengthen you because you realize I have a weakness here. And if you give a crap about your business, you're going to fix that weakness and you're going to fix it now. You also have to ask yourself, where is it I want to go? Our personal goal is to get to 10,000 units. We're at 3,800 units right now. We want to get to 10,000 units, which means I've got to have the team that looks like they operate 10,000 units. And if you don't have the team that operates that looks like 10,000 units, then you might need to make a change. Because when you're sitting in this chair, I'm controlling $400 million of asset value. And whether that goes up or goes down is my decision. And this is the same thing for you. If this is your first deal, you are controlling a multi-million-dollar property, right? That property. Who is sitting in the property management chair? You put them there. Are they qualified to sit there? Can they make the decisions that you need them to make?
Right.
What is their experience level? Because again, all the money you make in real estate is with renewals. Do they know how to take care of people? Do they have a customer service attitude? And because if they don't, you're going to see it in the P&L. You're going to see it in lost time, lost opportunity when your NOI doesn't go up and the NOI of your peers are going up.
Right. And what do you need to instill more in your team to reach 10,000 units from a property management aspect?
What I think was that I felt for a long time everybody waited for me to make the decision for them. And it's because that's the kind of people that I had within this company. I didn't have a lot of people that could make decisions on their own. And so when you're doing that, I can't wear every single hat anymore. I can't grow like that and still be able to be the CEO of Rockstar and look at all the things on where we're headed and how to manage COVID. So that's why I made a decision where we made some changes internally to bring in people that already have been to where I want to go and know how to make decisions, have a track record, and not be the only guy in the chair that can make a decision.
Right. I saw your Instagram story. You were in Disney with your family last week, right?
Yep.
So you've built this team. When do you think is the right time or right situation for a team member to call you saying, hey, Robert, we have this property management problem? Or what level of urgency is it when they call you versus not?
Well, I'll tell you what, most people in this company have my phone, and they can call me anytime. And they know that if they call me at Disney, I'm going to answer the phone because I love what I do. This is not a job to me. It's not even a career to me. This is my passion. I love doing this. I love finding a better way to do it. So I take phone calls. In fact, my team doesn't want me to call them when I'm on because I can't shake it off. I enjoy what I'm doing. I don't have FOMO. I used to have FOMO early on, and I don't have the fear of missing out anymore. But I miss being in the game when I'm on vacation. Now, they're calling you because you either have not given them the ability to make the right decision themselves, or you haven't trained them. They're not competent enough to make the decision on themselves. And if that's the case, that's fine. But there has to be somebody else within the business that is. Right. Hopefully more than one. Hopefully multiple, 3, 4, 5, 6 people. So they should all have bosses in there. If the people that are running my operations for me can't make the call, then I have the wrong person sitting in the chair. Right, I don't need to be undisturbed in Disney. I'm available 24/7. That's the job that I have. That is the responsibilities that I have when I run $400 million of assets and $100 million of investor equity. So I'm okay with that and I love it. But I expect them to make the decision when I'm not around. Whenever I expect them to make the decision, whenever. Let me focus on what I need to focus on. You focus over here.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I remember, in corporate America, you often get a task and there's no direction, and you end up spending more time doing it, more time trying to figure it out than if someone would have just sat you down and taught you how to do it. So I think you nailed it right there.
Because I think it's really important you understand the thought process, the mindset of making that decision. If somebody just shows you how to do it, you don't understand the spirit of the decision. You don't have the heart of why that decision is being made. And that's where you kind of have to do trial and error. We did trial and error on our virtual tours, and we got it wrong. We did trial and error on how we do Facebook advertising and how we do SEO, and we got it wrong. But you have to learn. And when you learn not just not how to do it, but that kind of thinking cultivates the next expansion in your company. It cultivates the next idea, the tangent of what you're doing.
Right.
I also want to say too that the way we run business in 2020 is not the way we ran business in 2011, 2012, 2015, 2016. That was a different company. It was a different mindset, but you have to evolve. Mm-hmm. You have to constantly be looking for a way to improve, and your principles and your processes from those early years aren't going to work today. Mm-hmm. Because you have different people in the chair. You have people when you're starting out, you probably will be the smartest guy in the room, right? You probably will be, and the kind of talent you will attract will be based on what you have to pay. And if you only have one property with 118 units, I can't go hire a guy that runs 23,000 units. I don't have the budget, which means you're that guy, right? And the kind of person you get from 118 units sitting in your property management chair is not the same kind of person that you could get if you're running 300 units in the Class A level. It's a bigger budget. Right. So what happens is in those early years, you do it all and you learn a lot. This is why I think people shouldn't do third party management. They should do it themselves if they're really serious about this. And you learn and you make the mistakes, but you understand the process. As you get older or more mature, more experienced, you need to learn to let go. Let go and bring in somebody, hire somebody. Like look at your entire attributes. Find your strongest and find your weakest. Double down on your strongest and hire in your weakness.
So what was one of your weaknesses?
Say it again.
What was one of your weaknesses that you had to hire for?
Training. Training was very strong early on when it was just small people. When it was not small people. When it was just a smaller group of people. But as training went on, and I have to wear other hats, I can't continue to train like I used to. I can't sit there with the property manager and go through the leasing process like I used to back in 2011. Right. I have just too much responsibility. So you got to bring somebody in to do that. I also know that our make-ready processes were run like an independent owner in 2011, but it may not be the way that you need to operate today. I would try to do everything in-house, and I would work my guys internally really hard, and I would teach them resurfacing. I would teach them painting skills and other things, but it's about speed. I was getting them to work on 1 or 2 units when I could have had 5 move-ins if I just had jobbed it out. Right. So these are things, these are little errors that you learn, little trials and tribulations you go through. And so, processes, right? I ran processes like an independent owner. But if I'm trying to get to 10,000 units, very few independent owners get to 10,000 units, which means you have to change your process. You got to run it more like the bigger companies, more like, the big five companies. Right? And then you do a lot more outsourcing, and you got to bring people from that world, right? Because I don't know how to do that. I'm so used to doing things internally, right? To saving money for the investors. But you got to be thinking, I can make more money if I can move 5 units in, and my maintenance guys can work on work orders, not having to do make readies all the time.
Yeah.
Also, when you move out people, it's a different process. I would try to move everybody out at the end of the month because I wanted a full month's rent. But that's the wrong process for us today. Today, I want people moving out every single Sunday because I want my team having enough that you're going to get 2 or 3 units ready. But if you're going to get 2 to 3 units ready every single week. But if you move everybody out at the end of the month because you're trying to collect a full month's rent on their move out, you now have 10, 12 units all at the same time empty.
Yeah.
How are you going to get those 12 units made ready in the next couple of weeks? You're not.
Yeah.
You're not. You need to learn how to move out and stagger your process. These are things that I didn't even consider because I was so used to doing it a certain way. So again, you hire in your weaknesses, training processes from the big company level.
Yeah. And I'm sure you heard this stuff maybe, but is it one of the things you have to experience to really learn it?
Mm-hmm. You got to go through the pain of it. When you feel the pain, you learn the lesson.
Yeah, because I read all these books on how to manage the property, how to underwrite, all this, but then you hear the horror stories because they still go through it. It's almost inevitable.
It's theory versus practicality.
Yeah. So I think you've dropped a lot of knowledge just for myself, my first day back in class per se, and I appreciate you being on. What is, as we wrap up here, what is one thing that you'll say you're proud of your property management team? And what am I going to see when I step on a Rockstar Capital property versus, any others?
I think what I'm most proud of is that pound per pound, there's very few companies, not just in the city, but in the entire country that get resident satisfaction the way we do. Nobody tells a story. Nobody promotes our brand. Nobody goes out there and solicits a review like we do, because every time somebody moves in, they're happy. Every time somebody renews, they're happy. So why do you let your reviews be narrated by the people that are unhappy, the people that are being evicted, the people that their cars are being towed because they can't park in the fire zone or in the handicap spot, right? I want to make sure that we control the narrative. We're very good at controlling the narrative. So when COVID-19 comes, we can control and disseminate the information. I'm very, very proud of this team because it takes a lot of effort. I'm just one cog in the wheel. I'm not the one sitting in front of the chair every single day, not just running a multi-million-dollar business, but worrying on the families and the welfare of 300 people at that community. And for a property like that to be ranked in the top 1%, I get very proud of that. I get very proud of our company having all, there was 5 last year in Houston. There was a total of 21 in the entire city, and I had 5. My portfolio is only 3,800 units. Now it's competing with the Gray Stars of the world that have 40,000 units. Yeah.
You pinch yourself every once in a while, or you kind of envision this?
I couldn't hear you. Tell me again.
Do you pinch yourself every once in a while, or did you know you were did you envision this?
No, I think you pinch yourself every once in a while. Yeah. I do. I wake up some days and I can't believe I'm in the position that I'm in. It's not how I started it. This is not what I was thinking. I've learned a lot from just having an open mind and evolving. It takes a little time to get to that point because you think you're right all the time, and you've got to be open to new ideas. You got to be open to new processes, new ways of thinking. And if you don't have the community feel, you're never going to get to the ultimate goals. I think my goals personally have changed, and it's changed based on the technical level of the company and the people around me. And as better people have joined our group, certainly more expensive, right? But for a reason. Definitely, as better people have entered our group, our thought processes have changed. And so, here we have, 4,000 units. I never imagined getting to 4,000 units. When I first joined real estate, I just wanted to get to my first property. And then I wanted to get to 500. And then I wanted to get to 1,000. I somehow skipped from 1,000 and got to 10,000 units in my head. I just want to do it. I think we're one of the best operators in the country. I think our skins in the wall and the trophies in the trophy case show that.
Mm-hmm.
It's my job to go out there and tell this story and
Mm-hmm.
promote it. It's why we put so much effort in our marketing and our branding. I mean, you go to the Apartment Rockstar on Instagram,
Yep.
you're going to see the better part of 70,000 people following me. That doesn't happen overnight. You know, that is an effort of finding the techniques and the ways to get people to follow you. You know, right now we're doing this video conference, right? But this is one of two I'm going to do this week. Every week we're constantly on there. Every week we're
Right.
constantly putting ourselves out. You know, I've got a full-time videographer. I've got someone that does editing. I've got a like 7-person marketing team. I mean, there's significant resources here on getting us to that goal. So, but these were never things that I was taught.
Yeah.
These are never things that anybody else is doing. So I think if I can leave you with one bit of information, you follow your own playbook, not somebody else's. Follow what makes sense for you, and you tell them, I'll see you at the finish line.
I don't think I could ask another question after that. I think that stamped the testament of this whole interview.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, I've learned so much more that I probably would have in a textbook about property management just with you in 30 minutes than anywhere else. So, and I hope this brings a lot of value to first-time investors, or, you know, rethink of the way how, you know, institutions are running their portfolio, because like you said, there is no playbook for managing, you know, COVID in 2020 onward. This is all new for everyone. And if you're not thinking ahead, like you'll probably be left behind, like you said.
Absolutely. Well, if anybody listening would like to follow me on Instagram, again, I'm at Apartment Rockstar. I've got a lot of free videos, free micro content. I have full-length articles on LinkedIn at Robert Martinez, or if you just want to be my friend on Facebook, hey, I'm there, Robert Martinez. We've also launched a new coaching series where we've pre-made videos on how to become a better apartment operator, and we even offer one-on-one mentorship coaching, and you can find that at apartmentrockstaracademy.com.
Yeah, I'll drop the link in the videos to your course so people can reach it.
For sure.
Well, Robert, I appreciate this. This was a blast for me to have you as my first guest. Like I said, I didn't think it was going to happen this quick, so I'm very humbled and grateful. And you've taught me a lot, and I hope this resonates with other people as well.
Well, good luck with the podcast. Good luck with your own personal career. It's an absolute honor to be your first guest when I know you could have had anybody on there. And certainly reach out to me if I can help you in any way.
Appreciate it, Robert. Other than that, thank you for class, and till next time.
Hey, talk to you later.
All right, take care.